All right, y'all. So these first 5 or 6, I'm going to show you how to graph those on MATLAB again. So let me write down this problem. This was 8y plus 4x equals 8. So I'm going to work that, then come back and show you how to put this answer in. All right, so I'm going to solve this for y. So I'm going to start out by subtracting 4x. 8y is going to come down. 4x and negative 4x cancel on the left side. These are not like terms, but I usually put my x's before my number. So I'm going to put my negative 4x and then bring down my 8. All right, next step, divide everybody by 8. So if that cancels, giving me 1y. Negative 4 won't divide by 8, but we're going to reduce that. Let's see, that'll reduce to a negative 1/2 x. And then the 8 divided by 8 gives me a 1 at the end. So we need to find 2 points for this. Well, we'll use 0. So if I put a 0 in for the x, negative 1/2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 would give us 1. And y'all, my second point, I'm going to use a 2. When I got fractions, I always make my x's match that denominator so that when I come over here and plug it in, the 2's cancel. And then that'll give me the negative 1 plus 1. Negative 1 plus 1 would give me 0. So I got 2 points. So let's go back and graph this on MATLAB. So remember, I want to click over here to enlarge graph. That is a straight line. So I'm going to click the line tool. And my points were 0, 1. We'll start at 0, go up 1, and click that. And then I had 2, 0. So go right 2, stop there. That'll be 0. Y'all, once you do that, save that and be done. All right, let's see what number 2 has. Number 2 is y equals x squared plus 2. So we'll work this on paper again, and then we'll put it in MATLAB. All right, so this one's already solved for y, so I'm just going to pick the numbers. So remember, this is the x squared graph. X squared graphs make the parabolas. So because of that exponent 2, we know it's going to be a parabola. They might call it a squaring tool, but you need to pick these 3 x's, negative 1, 0, and 1. And when I graph it, the first point I'm going to plot will be the 0, okay? And you'll see when we go into that. So let's put a negative 1 in. Now remember, these graphs are symmetric, so whatever I get for negative 1, I'm going to get for positive 1. All right, negative 1 squared is a positive 1 plus 2, which gives me 3. If I put a 0 in, 0 squared is 0 plus 2 would give me 2. When I put my 1 in, 1 squared is 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2 would give us 3. All right, but it's very important that that point on the bottom is the first one I graph. And that's going to be what I do when I get to 0. So watch what happens. We're going to go graph these 3 points. So I'm going to click the enlarge my graph. I'm going to choose, they call it the 3-point quadratic tool. So now I'm going to plot 0, 2, because remember, you got to plot 0, 2 first. Then I'm going to do the -1, 3, so -1 up 3. And then I'll come back and do my +1 up 3. We've got our 3 points. It makes the parabola for us. So we would save that and move on. Y'all got questions over those yet? All right, this is the absolute value graph. So let's work this. So absolute value needs 2 points on it, and it's the V-shaped graph. Now, the first X I pick is whatever X value makes this 0. So the first X we pick should make this equal 0 inside the bars. Well, since that's -6, I'm going to pick 6. Because 6 minus 6 will make that 0. Then my second X, I'll just pick a 7. So y'all, let's put a 6 in. Well, 6 minus 6 is 0. Absolute value of 0 is 0. So the first X you pick has to have a Y value of 0 so that we can get this point right here. Now, 7 I'll put in. Seven minus 6 is 1. Absolute value 1 is 1. All right, so I got my 2 points, 6, 0, 7, 1. So we're going to go graph those. So click to enlarge graphs. Pick the absolute value tool. So you need to plot the 6, 0 first. So come down here, 6, 0 is on the x-axis. Then I'm going to plot my 7, 1. So go right up to 7, up 1. So the absolute value tool will automatically draw the other half. It reflects that right half. So once you plot 2 points on it, you can save it and move on. All right, so I'll ask y'all this one. Is this a function? Yes or no? Yeah, y'all, this is definitely a function because all my x's only have one range value. So what you would have to do is pick the one that says each element in the domain corresponds to exactly one element in the range. So make sure you pick A on that one. Because this B would be false. It's saying that each range has only one domain. Well, this range has 3 domains. So remember, pick the one that has each domain has exactly one range. All righty, 5, I'm just going to work on paper. I'll show you what they gave us. So 5, they're giving us f of x equals 2x squared minus 2x. And they want us to find f of 0, f of -1, f of 2. So I'm just going to plug in these numbers and see what I get. I'm going to do this 3 times for each value. So f of 0 will be 2 times 0 squared minus 2 times 0. So it looks like the zeros are taking over. 0 squared is 0 times 2 is 0. 2 times 0 over here is 0. And 0 minus 0 gives us a 0. F of -1 would be 2 times -1 squared minus 2 times -1. Y'all, and I can't stress enough, if you do this on the calculator, you got to put them negative numbers in parentheses. So bring down to 2. -1 squared is -1 times -1, which makes that a +1. Now I'm going to do all my multiplying. 2 times 1 is 2. Over here, you're subtracting 2 times a -1. Remember, all these negatives will make that positive. So that'll make that a +2. And 2 plus 2 would give us 4. All righty, then finally I got f of 2. That'll be 2 times 2 squared minus 2 times 2. So y'all, once again, I would do the exponent first. So bring down that 2. 2 squared would be 2 times 2 is 4. Well, let's see, I'm going to multiply now. 2 times 4 is 8. Minus 2 times 2 is 4. And let's see, 8 minus 4 would give us 4, final answer. So just remember on these ones, always use parentheses around those numbers because then you won't mix those signs up on these, okay? All right, y'all, I think 6, I'm going back to a graph. Let's see. All right, so let me write this one down. So this would be 6. This is f of x equals 1 minus the absolute value of x. Now remember, to get the absolute value on the calculator, you can hit second 0. When you hit second 0, it brings up a catalog. Absolute value is the first thing you get on it. All right, so let's see. Doing this by hand. I got -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Now, they're giving us points that'll center around. Remember, this is absolute value, so we need 2 points. That first point we graph, when we plot it, that's the first point we got to graph is the one with the 0. Then I can pick any of the other 4 points and it'll finish out the graph. So what we're going to do first, remember, absolute value, center point is the first one we're going to graph. So we're just going to plug in the numbers and see what we get. So f of -2 will be 1 minus absolute value of -2. Well, let's see, we bring down a 1 minus absolute value of 2 or -2. Absolute value of -2 would be a +2. So then that's going to give you 1 minus 2, which gives us a -1. Then we find f of -1. That'll be 1 minus absolute value of -1. So bring down to 1 minus absolute value of -1 is a +1. And let's see. 1 minus 1 gives me 0. All right, we put a 0 in. F 0 will be 1 minus absolute value of 0, which would be 1 minus 0, which would give me a 1. Now, here's what's nice about absolute value, just like the parabolas. you should start seeing some symmetry. -2 and 2 should give us the same answers. -1 and 1 should give us the same answers. So let's find f of 1 and c. That'll be 1 minus absolute value of 1. 1 minus, remember, absolute value of 1 is also 1. And 1 minus 1 gives us 0. So you're starting to see, got a 1 in the center. Both these y values are 0, which means f of 2 should give us a -1 when we're done. 1 minus absolute value of 2 will be 1 minus 2. And y'all, that gives us a -1. So we got our symmetry here, but remember the first point I'm going to plot will be 0, 1, and then I'll pick anything out of the other 4. So remember, you're going to click the enlarge. Well, first we got to put in our numbers. So we got what? A -1. We got a 0. We got a +1. We got a 0. And then we got a -1. Now, click to enlarge graph. Pick the absolute value tool. First point has to be the 0, 1. So I'm going to go to 0, up 1, click that. And then I'll probably use 1, 0 because that was next on my list. So go right 1, 0. It's going to draw my upside down absolute value. Hit save, and then we'll move on. All right, y'all, let me write this one down. Seven is sort of tricky because they got all these negatives. That is a negative x squared minus 4. And notice, once again, they're giving me my x values, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So remember, that's an x squared graph. X squared graphs give me parabolas. And the first point I plot has to be that center point. All right, y'all, so let's find these values. And remember, whatever I get at -1, I'll get it 1. Whatever I get at -2, I should get it 2. Because these are symmetric. So I'm going to do f of -2. Now be careful, there's a negative in. So bring down that negative. Put your x in parentheses, which is -2. Square that, -4. Now, these two negatives will not make a positive because of that exponent. So what I'm going to do is bring that negative down. And I'm going to work the exponent. -2 squared is -2 times -2, which is a 4. And then bring down my -4. So this is basically a -4 minus 4, which would give us a -8. All right, do f of -1. That'll be negative times -1 squared minus 4. So y'all bring that negative down. -1 squared will be a +1. Bring down your -4. So this is basically -1 minus 4, which will give us -5. All right, next I got what? F of 0. That'll be a negative times 0 squared minus 4. We know 0 squared is 0 times that negative is 0. So this gives me 0 minus 4, which would be a -4. Now we should start seeing some symmetry here. So f of 1 will equal a negative times 1 squared minus 4. Bring down the negative. 1 squared is 1 minus that 4. -1 minus 4, -5. So we know what's going here probably. If we did this one right, that should be a -8. So let's see. So f of 2 will equal a negative times 2 squared minus 4. Bring down that negative. Because you're working the exponent first. 2 squared is 4. Bring down that minus 4. And y'all look at that. -4 minus 4 gives us -8. So when I graph this, I'm going to start in the center. I'll do 1 point on the right side, and then I'll do 1 point on the negative side. So let's see what we get. All right, so let me put in these answers first. We had -8, -5, -4, -5, -8. So you'll do that, then you'll click the enlarge. Remember, that is the parabola, the 3-point quadratic. I'm starting with the 0, -4. Oh, these lines get tight, some of them. I'm going to do 1, -5, so go right 1, down 5. And then I'll do -1, -5. So go to -1, -5. Once I put them 3 points, save that, and then we'll move on. All right, y'all good so far? So if you notice, the first part of this test is sort of graphing heavy, okay? But then it sort of tapers off. All right, so the next one's on y'all. So I'm going to switch this to number 8. This will be on y'all. Is that graph the graph of a function? Yes or no? Oh, so y'all are split on this one. So let's ask this. To check that, remember, I do the vertical line test. And y'all, if you was to run a vertical line left to right across your graph, it would intersect it at the top and at the bottom. So this one would definitely be a no, because it fails the vertical line test. Remember, the vertical line can only intersect that graph once for it to be a function. All right, so we'll see how y'all do on this. Use the graph to find the following. So, number 9, this is the first one I took off the test. So, you have to do it on the quiz, but number 9 will not be on my test, okay? So, find me f of 3. F of 3, go find the x value of 3. Go straight up till you hit the graph and see what that y value is. So y'all got any guesses on what f of 3 equals? So let's see, I'm gonna go on the right to the x-axis at 3. At 3, I'm gonna go straight up. And it looks like I'm hitting it at about 3 on the y-axis, right? So that would definitely be, good job, Raven, that would be a 3. So they're giving you the x, you're finding the y. So let's ask this one. What's the domain? So notice the domain is the x's, but this thing's got an arrow going to the right. It's got an arrow going to the left. So good job. That would definitely be E, all real numbers. All right, now here's a tricky one. For what x values does f of x equal 1? So basically, what x values have a y value of 1? So if you go to the y-axis at 1 and go straight across that horizontal line, where are we hitting it at? And I will say there's 2 of them. So 5 is definitely one of them. So what's my second one? 7. Good job. So yeah, it crosses at 5. And then if you go on the other side, it crosses at 7. So good job. All right, now the range. Now notice the range, both the arrows go upwards. So the range wants to know the y values. So we need to figure out what the minimum y value is, and then it'll be greater than or equal to whatever we get. So y'all, this graph is hitting the x-axis. So what would be the y value on the x-axis? So I'm going with that. I'm going to go with 0. So notice you want to choose D on this one, or whichever one you have that has the greater than or equals. Because remember, it can equal 0 since it's on that axis, and then any number greater. So you choose the one that has the greater than or equal, put in your 0, and then you're ready to move on. All righty, so let me go back to my other pad now. Some of these I can start working on paper now instead of on that. I just wanted to work the drafts on that because they're sort of tricky. So number 10 says find a domain. They're giving us g of x equals 3 divided by 10 minus 3x. So we're definitely worried about our domain on this one because it is a fraction. So remember, when we had fractions, we took that denominator and only denominator, 10 minus 3x, and we set it equal to 0. So by doing this, we can find what x values make that happen and then exclude it from my domain. So y'all, I'm just going to solve this. We're going to subtract our 10. That'll give me negative 3x equals a negative 10. And then I'm going to come by, divide both sides by that negative 3. Well, that cancels. I get my x. Negative by negative, make that a positive. Oh, we can't do nothing to that 10/3. So this will make my domain x such that x is a real number and x cannot equal 10/3. Now y'all watch out, they're going to put other symbols here, but you need the one that says not equal. You don't want the greater than and the less than and all that. We need to have a not equals there, okay? So be careful, they try to throw you curveballs. All right, 11, f of x equals negative 6x plus 17. G of x equals x squared plus 14. We're going to find f of 3 divided by g of 3. All right. 11, I took off. And the only reason I took this one off is some of the fractions reduced sort of ugly. And a lot of people missed on that reducing. So I just took this one off. All right, so f of 3 will be f, which is negative 6. Put a 3 in for the x, plus 17. over g of 3, which will be a 3 squared plus 14. All right, so let's see what I get on top. That'll give me what, a negative 18 plus 17. 3 squared is 9 plus 14. So y'all looks like I'm going to get a negative 1 over, what's that, 23. Now this one don't reduce, but a lot of them on your labs will reduce. And they sort of get crazy numbers. So I just wanted to keep that in sort of mellow. All right, number 12. F of x equals negative 5x plus 3. G of x equals x squared minus 5. They want us to find g minus f of an x. So no numbers this time. They just want us to find g minus f of x. Since it's subtracting, I would definitely probably put these in parentheses. My g equation first minus my f. So g was x squared minus 5. F is a negative 5x plus 3. So y'all, I'll start this out and y'all finish me up. I'm gonna put the x squared minus 5. Tell me what next two terms y'all would put. So let's see, I'm getting that. Good job. Negative times negative makes that a positive 5x. Negative times that positive 3 makes that a negative 3. Can you go further? I can't run it slow, but remember, we can go further because we have like terms on here. So my final answer, I'll put my x squared, bring down my 5x, negative 5 and negative 3. Good job. That's going to give me what? A negative 8. Good job. So the trick on that, just get the order right. G minus F, a lot of people will do the F minus G, but keep that order straight, okay? All right, y'all, 13. F of x will equal x squared minus 4. G of x will equal 16 minus x. They want me to find F minus G of a 9. Y'all, many ways you can do this. You can put a 9 here, figure out what F of 9 is. You can put a 9 here, figure out what G of 9 is. And then F minus G and get your final answer. Or you can put them out like in our parentheses. F would be x squared minus 4. So that'll be a 9 squared minus 4. Minus my G, which would be 16 minus 9. Well, let's see what we get. 9 squared is 81. That gives me 81 minus 4 minus my 16 minus 9. So all I did was my exponent. Now I'm going to subtract and get rid of these parentheses. 81 minus 4 is 77 minus 16 minus 9. That's what 7. 77 minus 7. gives me 70. But y'all, you could have figured that out. 9 squared, 81, minus 4, 77, 16 minus 9, 7, and then your 77 minus 7, still going to give you 70. Questions yet? All right, 14. I took off the test. You still got to do it on the review, but I took it off the test because it was long. They want me to find the domain of the sum, difference, and product. They're giving me f of x equals 1 over x minus 8. G of x equals 5x to the third. So let's do the sum first. The sum would be 1 over x minus 8 plus 5x to the third. Are we worried about anything on this domain? And y'all, I'm hoping y'all are saying, yeah, because we got a fraction there. Since we got a fraction, we got to worry about any numbers that might make that fraction undefined. So if we want to, we can set x minus 8 equal to 0, because that's the only denominator we have. Solve that by adding the 8. So this is telling me if x is 8, that makes that undefined. So the only number I got to kick out is the 8. So this will be x such that x is real number and x cannot equal 8. For the difference, that'll be 1 over x minus 8 minus 5x to the third. So y'all notice I still got the same fraction. Although I'm subtracting, I still got the same fraction, which means x cannot equal 8 for this one. So this domain will also be x such that x is a real number and x cannot equal 8. And then the product. That would be 1 over x minus 8 times 5x to the third. Well, guess what? I still have that fraction. X still cannot equal 8. So this one would be the same. X such that x is real and x cannot equal 8. So remember, when you're doing the review, whatever you get on the sum, you're going to get the same answers on the difference and the product for that one, okay? All righty, y'all. So let's see, moving on. 15 wants me to find the domain of f divided by g. F of x is 5x minus 2. G of x is 2x minus 8. So f divided by g will equal my f, which is 5x minus 2, divided by my g, which is 2x minus 8. And remember, since this is a fraction, all I'm concerned about is that denominator. So I will take my denominator, 2x minus 8, set it equal to 0. Now, solve that. So 2x equals 8, divided by 2. So x equals 4. So the only answer, or the only number I got to kick out is 4. So we'll pick x such that x is a real number and x cannot equal 4. Now, y'all, on this one, Math Lab will give you everything up to the end. You actually got to put the x not equal to 4 part. Okay? You got to put the x also. If you just put not equal to 4, it sort of marks that wrong. So you got to put that whole thing, x not equal to 4. All right, let's see what they want. They're giving me f of x equals 6x plus 5. G of x equals x to the third. They want us to find f compose g of -5. So this was the composition stuff. So remember, this is really like finding an f of a g of -5, which means we got to figure out g of -5 first. Once we get g of -5's answer, we'll put that into our f equation. So let's start with g of -5. So put a -5 into that x. That'll give me a -5 to the third power. Woo, y'all figure that one out. -5 to the third power will be -5 times -5 times -5. That's going to give me what, a negative 125. Now that I got -125 out of my G, I need to take that -125 and now put it into the F. So we're finding F of a -125. All right, y'all, so that'll be 6 times -125 plus 5. Whoa, y'all, what's that giving me? That's a big number. Y'all got a calculator? So yeah, -750 plus my 5, and I can do that, and that'll be what, -745, right? So that's your trick. Figure out your innermost, get that answer, plug it into your second equation. All right, y'all, moving on. Let's see. All right, 17. I took off because it was just too long. They want me to find f of g of x, g of f of x in the domain of both. So f of x is 6 over 1 minus 7x. G of x equals 1 over x. So f of g, g of f in the domain of each. So I'm going to start with f of g of x. So that'll be taking your f equation and putting g of x in for its x. So that'll give us 6 over 1 minus 7 times g, which is 1 over x. So right off the bat, I got a fraction coming in. And at this point, I know x cannot equal 0. So if y'all start out with g of x like me, x cannot equal 0 right off the bat, because 1 divided by 0 makes that undefined. All right, so the rest of this is simplified. So treat the 7 like it's got a 1 on the bottom and multiply that bottom first. So you'll get 6 over 1 minus 7 on 1 on top is 7. 1 times x on the bottom is an x. So still that 0 you're worried about. Now here's the thing. We cannot have a fraction inside of a fraction. So to get rid of this fraction, multiply all parts by an x. So I would do x times the 6 on top, x times the 1 minus x times my 7 over x. Now, the reason we did that, because this bottom x on the fraction cancels. So what's left will be x times 6, which is 6x. The bottom, x times 1 is x, minus, since these x's canceled, all that's left is that 7. So it's simplified like I need to, but guess what? I got another fraction. And this bottom part cannot equal 0. And there's only one number that'll make that equal 0, and that would be a positive 7. So at this point, we know x cannot equal a positive 7. So cannot equal 0 from the beginning, cannot equal 7 from the ending. They want this in interval notation. So it would go from negative infinity. First number we hit would be 0. Union around 0 until we hit positive 7. Union around positive 7 until we hit positive infinity. So the f of g for y'all will have 2 numbers that you got to kick out. And one of them's probably going to be 0. So what y'all got to figure out is what this second number is going to be. Now they wanted me to do what? G of f. So let's do G of f right here. So G of f will be the G equation, which is 1 divided by x. In place of its x, I got to put my f, which is 6 divided by 1 minus 7x. All right, so we got a fraction right here. So we need to set the bottom equal to 0 to see if there's anything to kick out. So yeah, let's see, let's subtract 1. Negative 7x equals negative 1. Divided by negative 7. So I get an x equals, that's going to make that a positive 1 over 7. So at the moment, we know x cannot equal 1 over 7. All right, y'all, to simplify this one, I treat the top like a fraction, bring that 1 down. I change from division to multiplication, and I flip the bottom. So I get 1 minus 7x over 6. Now, I didn't do that on the one while ago because look, the one while ago had fractions inside of fractions. This one was the number being divided by a fraction. So we treat it different, but now 1 times that will just give me 1 minus 7x over 6. Notice there's not a variable on the bottom of this one, so the only number I need to exclude from my domain is that 1/7. So I would start at -infinity till I hit 1/7, union 1/7 to positive infinity. And y'all, your G of F only have one number that you're excluding also, okay? All right, let's see what's next. So that's why I really took that one off. It's a little long and a little tricky. So let me go to the math lab and I need to zoom up to number, what was that? That was 17. So let me zoom up to 18. So y'all, let me zoom this up just a little bit. Question, is that 1-to-1? And y'all remember, when I check 1-to-1, I used the horizontal line test. So if a horizontal line can intersect my graph more than once, it's not 1-to-1. So y'all see that? I got a lot of places on this. If I was to run a horizontal line across this, it would intersect at the top. It would intersect at the bottom twice. So since this intersects more than once, this is not 1-to-1. All right, then this will make us, let's see what's next here. Okay, so I'll do this by hand. So this is 19. F of x equals 4 over x plus 7. If it's 1-to-1, find its inverse. So here's the thing on this one. 100% of y'all's are going to be 1-to-1. So you will find the inverse, okay? So it will be 1-to-1. So remember, to find the inverse, I'm going to replace the f of x with a what? Y'all remember? All right, so let me get y'all started. Replace f of x with a y. So that gives you y equals 4 over x plus 7. So what was the next step? I'm going to switch. There you go. Switch the x and the y. Switch them around so that gives me x equals 4 divided by y plus 7. All right, so now we got to solve for y. Now, y'all, the easiest thing on this, since this is a fraction, I can treat that like an x over 1. Since it's a fraction equal to a fraction, I can switch those and get away with that. So I'm going to switch the x and the y plus 7. So that'll give us a y plus 7 equals 4 over x. Now you could do it the long way. So the long way to do this would be to multiply both sides by y plus 7. So see that cancels that fraction. But then you got y plus 7 times x equals 4. So next step would be to divide both sides by the x so that they're gone. So that you get y plus 7 equals 4 over x. So if you want to do all that, that's fine and dandy. But remember, you can flip any numerator with any denominator when you got two fractions equal to each other. Okay. All right, so let's see. Final step, to get that y by itself, come in, subtract 7 from both sides. So that my y comes down. Cannot do anything here, so that'll be a 4 divided by x minus 7. All right, y'all, then the last step was to replace that y with the f inverse of x notation. And then that'll equal 4 over x minus 7. Now, we'll say this. MathLab will give you that little f negative 1 of x. So if you see down here, they'll give you that. You just punch in your answer. What do we get? 4 divided by x. And then we got what? Minus 7. So you just put in that answer. They'll already have the f minus 1 of x. Oh, okay, let me see. Make sure you put yes on if it's 1 to 1 or not. All right, what is this? 20. I'm going to do these by hand. So we got some with some equations here. So 20, we have 3x plus 2y equals 24. 2x plus 3y equals 26. So remember, I need to eliminate a variable and then back substitute to solve for the other. So y'all, let's see. I'm just going to eliminate the y's. So to eliminate the y, I'm going to multiply this equation by 3. This equation by -2. Remember, one's got to be positive, one's got to be negative when you rewrite these. And I'm going to eliminate the y. So multiply the first equation by 3 gives me a 9x plus 6y equals 72. Multiply this row by -2 gives me a -4x minus 6y equals -52. But y'all notice what happens. The y's are gone. 9 and -4 give me 5x. 72 minus 52 gives me 20. I'm down to one variable, so if I divide by 5, I know that x equals 4. So now I can come back and back substitute. So I'll just probably pick this one right here. I got 2 times x, which is 4, plus 3y has to equal 26. But remember, you can pick either one. 8 plus 3y equals 26. Subtract 8 from both sides. 3y equals, what's that, 18. And y'all finally divide by 3 so that y equals 6. So remember, my answer has to be 4, 6 as an ordered pair. All right, y'all. So now remember, you could do the matrix stuff. This would be a 2 by 3 on a matrix, or you could do the Kramer 2 on that. Kramer 2x would work this if you got them programs in your calculator. All right, y'all, here comes the fun one, 21. All right, 5x minus y plus z equals negative 13. 2x plus 2y minus 3z equals 8. X minus 3y plus 2z equals negative 5. So I always label these 1, 2, and 3. So I think I'm going to get rid of the z's. So I'm going to eliminate z. So to eliminate z, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply row 1 by 3. Yeah, I'm going to multiply row 1 by 3. That'll give me a 3z. When I add the row 2, those will cancel. So I'm going to multiply 1 times 3. And then I'm going to add 1 and 2. And then the next time I'll use 1 and 3 to get rid of those. So if we multiply row 1 by 3, we'll get a 15x minus 3y plus 3z equals a negative 39. So you got to multiply everything by 3. Bring down row 2, which is 2x plus 2y minus 3z equals 8. So remember, when I add them, that'll give me my row 4. So y'all, that gives me 17x. Negative 3 and 2 is a negative y. The z's cancel. And that's going to equal a negative 31. Now let's get row 5. So when I did the row 5, I'm going to take row 1, multiply by negative 2, so that it'll cancel with the 2z. I'm going to multiply 1 times negative 2, and 1 and 3. So I use 1 both times to get rid of the others, okay? All right, if we do that, that'll give us a negative 10x plus 2y, because of the double negatives, minus 2z equals 26. Row 3 stays the same. That is x minus 3y plus 2z equals negative 5. Adding them together will give me row 5. All right, y'all, let's see what we get. We get a negative 9x minus y. These cancel, and that's going to give me 21. So let me bring row 4 and 5 over. So it looks like I'm going to cancel the y's and oh, I'll just multiply row 5 by negative 1. So multiply 5 by negative 1. That way, when I add them, they'll be good to go. So 4 staying the same. 17x minus y equals negative 31. If we multiply this row by negative 1, all that does is change all the signs. We get a 9x plus a y equals negative 21. But y'all look at that. The y's cancel. So I get 26x equals a negative 52. One more step and our x's are done. We're going to divide by 26. And y'all, x, I now know, is a negative 2. So now I'm going to come up and back substitute. Now I'm back substituting one of these equations from 4 or 5. So I'll probably just use 4. So I got 17 times x, which is -2, minus y has to equal -31. All right, y'all, -34 minus y equals -31. Add 34 to both sides. -y equals 3. So the final step, divide by that -1. And y is now a -3. So I know x and y. Now I'm just going to back substitute into one of these, and I'll probably just pick that top one. I got 5 times x, or back substitute one more time. 5 times x, which is -2, minus my y, which is -3, plus z has to equal -13. Y'all, let's see what we get. That's a -10. Those double negatives now will make that a +3, plus z equals -13. Add like terms. -7 plus z equals -13. And y'all, our final step on this, come in and add 7 to both sides. So that z equals, looks like what, a -6. Now here's the thing on that one. It has to be written as an ordered triple. X first, a -2. Y next, which was -3. Z, which was -6. Remember, put them in parentheses as an ordered triple. So the matrix, that would be 3 rows by 4 columns. So that'd be a 3 by 4 if you do the matrix. Or you can do the Kramer 3, put in all your numbers, and it'll spit that out. Oh, all righty, y'all. So let's go now to number 22. And I'm just going to show you number 22 says, and then we will work it. So I'm eating 1 egg, 1 cupcake, 1 pizza. The child has 300 milligrams. So what I'm going to do is make my egg row be my X's. What was next? Cupcakes will be my Y. Pizza will be my Z's. And then I'll have my milligrams as my answers. So I'm just letting them know what my variables are going to be. So 1 egg will be 1x plus 1 pizza plus, 1 cupcake plus 1 pizza. All those equal 300. So my second row says, if a child eats 3 cupcakes and 4 pizzas, they get 86. So remember, cupcakes is my Y's. So 3 cupcakes and 4 slices of pizza, they got 86. And then finally, my last row here, 2 eggs and 1 cupcake, a child consumes 566. So 2 eggs will be 2x. What I say? 1 cupcake will be 1y. And all of that equaled 566. So I now have another system of 3 equations. Now, if you do the matrix or the Kramer on that, you need a 0 here and a 0 here, because you got to have placeholders for the missing variables, okay? All right, y'all, so let's see. I'm going to eliminate the x. I would either pick the X's or the Z's. So I'm just going to eliminate X. So to eliminate X, I'm going to multiply row 1 by -2. And then I'll add 1 and 3. So since that's +2, I need to make this row a -2. So I'm going to multiply row 1 by -2. That'll give me -2x minus 2y minus 2z equals a -600. Row 3 staying the same. 2x plus a y equals 566. Add them together, that'll give me row 4. So the x's cancel. That's going to give me a -y minus 2z equals a -34. Now, look at row 2. It's just got y's and z's. So this row 2, since it don't have an x, automatically begins my row 5. So row 5 will be 3y plus 4z equals 86. So I'm just going to eliminate the y again. So I'm going to eliminate y. So to eliminate y, I'm going to multiply 4 by 3. So if we multiply this row by 3, you get -3y minus 6z equals a -102. 3y plus 4z equals 86. Bring that one down. And y'all look at that. The y's cancel. I end up with -2z equals -16. So I can now divide by -2 and get my z. So I know z is now going to be 8. Now remember, since you're dealing with milligrams, these variables all got to end up being positive, right? We don't never say we got -300 milligrams of cholesterol. All these answers got to end up being positive, okay? So I'm going to back substitute into one of these and get my y. So I just use the 3y plus 4 times z, which is 8, has to equal 86. So 3 times 8 is 32. Subtract 32 from both sides. 3y has to be what? 54. Divide by 3. And y has to be 18. So now, I know 8, 18. So now I got to go after the x. So I think on that one, I just used the very first one. So let me pull this down. X plus 18 plus 8 has to equal 300. Add like terms. X plus 26 equals 300. And y'all, the final step, subtract that 26. And x equals 274. But remember, this will ask you for the egg equals, cupcake equals, and then the pizza equals. So remember, eggs was my x's, so that's 274. Cupcake was my y, and my y was 18. Pizza was my z, which is 8. So just watch them on that. So they ask me in order. Well, that's a long one, y'all. All right, then I'm just finishing up with graphing inequalities. So I'm going to go to the math lab on that. That starts at 23. So let me pull 23 up. So we got 5x minus 4y less than or equal to a negative 12. So I'm going to work that, get us 2 points, and then we'll put them 2 points in there and graph it, okay? So I'm going to solve this for the y. That way, if you at least solve it for y, then if you wanted to use a calculator, you could, okay? So subtract 5x. Negative 4y is less than or equal negative 5x minus 12 divided by negative 4. Now remember, since I divided by a negative, I need to reverse the inequality. And y'all, I'm pretty sure all of y'all are going to have a negative y on this. So all of y'all better reverse that inequality, because if you shade it wrong, it will mark that wrong, okay? So y has to be greater than or equal. That gives me a 5/4 x. Negative 12, negative 4, give me what, a positive 3. All right, so if I was going to pick 2 points, I would use 0. Because 0 times 5/4 is 0. 0 plus 3 gives me 3. And I would probably pick a 4. The reason I pick 4, because then 4's cancel. And 5 plus 3 means that y has to be greater than or equal to 8. So when x is 4, y is 8. All right, now I'll get y'all to sort of help me do a little bit of this. So let's go back to the math lab. So I'm going to click to enlarge my graph. So the first thing I need to know, y'all, what kind of line? Do I want a solid line or a dotted line? Definitely solid. So by default, solid is already selected. So good job. Now let me do my points. I had 0, 3. So grab the line tool, go to 0, 3, click that. And then I had 4, 8. So go to 4 and up to 8. Click that. It drew my solid line. Second question, shade above or below? And remember, you're looking at the equation we solved for, okay? The last equation we did before we started picking our points. So that is greater than, so we're going to shade above. So click the little paint can, drag it above the line, and click. And it will paint it for us, and then we just save that, y'all. All right, x greater than negative 3. Watch this. We're going to click to enlarge the graph. So if you remember, when I did this one, I don't care what the y values are, but every x value had to be negative 3. So what I would do, first of all, is the line going to be solid or dotted? Well, it will be dotted, so we got to click on dotted, grab our line tool. Now, since x is greater than negative 3, you don't even have a y variable. Go to negative 3 on the x-axis, click that, go up 1 point or down 1 point, click it again. It made a vertical line on the x-axis at negative 3. So the question would be, am I going to shade this to the right or to the left? And remember, that is greater than, so x's get greater which way? So to the right. So I'm going to grab that little paint can, grab it to the right, click it. Now, Where I get a lot of people on that test is they forget to do the dotted line on that, okay? So make sure you do the dotted line. Oh, that was the 5th one I took off. So number 24 got taken off the test. So let me make sure I got all of them. So we took off 9, 11, 14, 17, and 24 were all removed from the test. So you'll have them on your study guide, but they will not be on my test. All right, y'all. So the last one is where we're going to have double shading. So what I would do is just find points out of each one of these. Once we get some points, we'll go graph them and see what we get. For the first one, I'll do an X and a Y, and then the second one, X and a Y. And I'm just going to use 0, 1 for both my X's. Well, if X is 0, 0 plus 3 gives me 3. If X is 1, 1 plus 3 gives me 4. Over here, if X is 0, 1 minus 0 gives me 1. If X is 1, 1 minus 1 gives me 0. So I got points. So we're going to go graph these two lines. And we're looking for the double shaded area to be our answer. Oh, I'm gonna have to do this all by hand, it looks like, because they're not giving us a graph to work with. All right, so we gotta actually graph this one and then pick one of those graphs. Well, remember that calculator, I showed you how you could shade on that. All right, so let me go out about 5. All right, so the first one I got 0, 3, 0, up 3, 1, 4 will be right 1, up 4. These will all be solid lines. Now, on that one, it is greater than, so we're going to shade above the line. So that one, we're shading all this above that line. Over here, I had 0, 1. So 0, 1 is right there. 1, 0 is right there. That one's a solid line. It's less than, so it's going to shade below the line. So y'all notice, looks like our double shaded region is right here, this left looking triangular piece. So let's go see if we can find that on that test. So let's see, looks like mine would be A, right? Left triangle. So remember, we're only worried about where it overlaps and it's double shaded. All righty, y'all. So y'all would plug that in and be done. All righty, so questions on that. So y'all don't do like my online. I've had online people, they did the study guide and made like 35. Then they went and done my test and got a 40. I would definitely do that study guide to at least get a 70. Once you got a 70 on that study guide, you know you're going to do better on that test, okay? But don't try to do that test if you can, don't try to do the test if you're only making a 30 or 40 on that study guide, right? Also, I sent y'all bonus. Do the bonus, send it back to me. That'll be 5 points on my test, which is half a letter grade on my test, okay? So those 5 points can turn your 95 into 100, 80s into 85, and so on. And if you make 100 and you do the bonus, that'll give you a 105. So that's even better way to start. So look in your email for the bonus I sent today. I'll send this video to y'all later today so that y'all have it. And then yeah, so if you got more questions, email me and I'll get right back to you. I usually pretty much can answer emails pretty quick. All righty, y'all. So let me stop this recording.